Scratch is still living there, baby.
Scratch is 45, but still feels 21. Hey.
Got a lot of health problems from my lifestyle. Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm doing great. I feel like sometimes it's important to make it feel like you and I just appeared in a room together and started talking.
Just teleported into a room by the power of friendship and video games.
We stopped existing the last time the pod was recorded, called Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
And my name is David.
Like we just popped out of existence and here we are again, existing again.
We got lost in the Walluccini sauce last time.
Oh my God, dude, I really did. That was, I've been reeling for a week about that. I would love to record a new podcast to just like replace the random access memory in my head of whatever the previous podcast was.
Just record over it.
Yeah, essentially what happens, like when you and I were first doing this, I feel like the first like 20 episodes, I could kind of just like recite from memory because I was like, wow, this new cool thing that we're doing, a creative endeavor.
Yeah. And
like now that is simply not the case. Somebody will make a reference to a joke I made like a week ago. And I'm like, I simply have no memory of this.
I'm not there. I'm not there anymore.
I'm not there. I was looking at we must have done the Metal Gear Solid 2 episode pretty recently, but that was in 2022. just bananas.
2022?
That was my reaction too.
Oh no. I'm sorry, everyone. We have to do MGS3.
Yeah, we do have to do MGS3. That's a thing we need to do.
Dang. Okay. Bust out my PS3 and get it going.
Yeah. Snake demands it. The children yearn for Snake.
The children yearn for more Snake. Yes.
Yeah, I did too, to be fair. I did yearn for Snake.
What's not to yearn for?
Yeah. What's not
very yearnable.
Hey, have you been playing video games?
Don't make the transition there.
I feel like that's where it had to be.
We're yearning now. We're in full yearn mode.
I'm yearning and churning.
Yes, I have been playing video games still.
Okay, cool. What you got?
I have 3 games to talk about this week.
Great. That's good news because I have 1.
Uno. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uno.
I'm ready for a deep dive.
Yeah, it honestly will be.
I'm not surprised. The first one is F1 2023.
Sports, baby.
Racing, sports.
Okay, pause. Are you an F1 guy?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I've never watched a single F1 race in my life.
Okay, perfect.
I know Lewis Hamilton and I know Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Just based off of what people say on the internet.
Okay, great.
And that's about it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, not like essentially, are you a football fan? I think I know Tom Brady is essentially what's happening here.
Pretty much. Yeah. Are you an F1 fan?
I watch Drive to Survive, the like Netflix show. And so like, I think I would call myself like interested in the sport, but like I'm not somebody who's waking up at 4 a.m. on the weekend to like watch races or anything like that.
I could see you being a hockey and F1 guy. I could see those being your two sports. I
mean, it's fun and interesting, but I also think like the current moment in F1, not to go like actually interesting on F1 right now, but like it is dominated by the same team and specifically the same guy. And it has been for so long that I'm just like, I don't know if it's necessarily like a thrill to watch right now. Cause it's like, well, Max is going to come in first and then it's just kind of a fight for the rest of the field rather than like an interesting race across the board, you know?
Yeah. He's I thought, because wasn't it Lewis Hamilton for a while, and now it's all Max Verstappen?
Exactly, yeah, for a long time.
No stopping for Verstappen.
I'm sure that has been made before.
It's fresh to me, so.
Yeah, it's new to me, so I'm going to make the joke. Yeah, it was Hamilton for a long time with Mercedes. He was like a multi-year champion, and then Red Bull Racing got like good, and then Max Verstappen has just been like dominating since then.
Red Bull,
yeah, Red Bull Racing. Anyway, this video game,
actually probably one of the better sports video games I've played in a while.
Yeah.
To be very honest, when I just played Madden recently, just the amount of needless friction there was in just the UI and the game itself.
Yeah.
It's just not present with this game, which already is a big note in its favor.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Just being able to get into the different modes without having to consistently have it talk to the EA servers each time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just maybe more fluid with this one or what, but it's snappier. It's quicker. The story mode's actually somewhat compelling.
Really?
Yeah. They like the facial animations and the graphics are kind of exceptional in this story mode, actually, surprisingly enough, in an F1 game.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most dramatic stories I have seen in a video game or a sports video game in a while. Like, you have a very unlikable teammate / rival in this one.
Yeah.
Punchable face, very punchable, hateable personality. I almost said punchable personality, but I guess you could punch a personality.
You can definitely have a punchable personality.
You can have a punchable personality, right? So great tension just out of the gate. It's also a continuation of the story from F1 2022, I'm guessing.
Oh my God. Whoa.
So they're going pretty deep on this one.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy, and it's pretty straightforward. Like, you don't miss a whole lot by not playing the first one.
Yeah.
But man, is it dramatic. And they do a really great job of bringing the drama into the actual game. So it'd be like, oh, your teammate and you just had a big argument, and now he's ahead of you, and you're like doing faster laps, but he's not letting you pass. So you have to get around him and like win the race. When he like was trying to keep you in 10th place or something, you have 7 laps to go. And you're like, oh damn, okay, we got some stakes here right now, because I really want to beat this guy. Like,
that's
you really
cool.
want to beat the guy.
Yeah.
So I really like that about this game. The story mode, the story mode is actually probably one of the better, like I said, one of the better ones I played in a sports game, period, recently.
I think with F1 specifically too, there's like, and this may be because I just watch so much of the Drive to Survive show, but like it really does seem like a sport that is primed for like petty grievances and catty exchanges and shit.
They are definitely playing that up in this.
Yeah, because like there's so few racers on the field at any time, right? Like there's only like 20 people out there.
Yeah.
And like there's just not very many people to like remember, you know? So it's like there are clear characters and lines and like alliances and shit. Not to mention like there's just so much money in it, so that you get like people who are just like so ridiculous and I don't know, petty in there. But yeah, I feel like it is a sport that is weirdly primed for like storytelling in a strange way.
Yeah, no, they do a surprisingly good job. Like, they did not have to go as hard as they are with this story, and the acting in the story too. It gets all very melodramatic, but I think that fits my knowledge of what F1 is pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, you can do all that. You see like all the behind the scenes stuff. You deal with like the inter-team drama as well. And you play as the driver, who's the main character, but then also you like manage the team as the team. I don't know. I don't think they're called a team manager, but that's kind of what this person is. Yeah. Saying, okay, I'm going to make this person go and do this interview, or I'm going to let these people come and like do a documentary in our studio, but I'm not going to let this Twitch streamer come and take a tour because one of my drivers went on stream with them and said, yeah, come on a tour with me, without saying anything about it first, because we have a team building experience that same day and it'll get in the way, right? So you have to, so it really gets you into these positions where you have to like take sides, which is fun and adds to the petty drama of it all.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then one thing that I found very surprising, at least gameplay wise for me, is that I am driving so much more politely and less aggressively in this game than any other racing game I've ever played before. I'm trying so hard not to hit anybody or not to get off the track at all. I'm trying to just be on the straight and narrow, and just when I can pass, I pass. And if it's not there, I put on the brakes, baby, and I go behind and I start drafting, and I take my chances when I can take them. Yeah. Whereas before, like in, I don't know, Forza or anything like that, I'm knocking people the fuck out the way.
Slamming into people.
I'm slamming into people. I'm rear-ending them. I'm like making them spin out. I'm like fishtailing them or whatever it is. And I'm like, what is happening to me? Like, why am I driving so much more politely in this game? Like, why is it making me do this, or want to do this, I should say? Yeah. And I think it's two things. I think one of them is that it's much more clear that these are people driving as opposed opposed to just cars. It's not like, oh, this Acura GLX or whatever is in front of me. I can just knock them and get them out of there. It's like, oh no, it's like Lewis Hamilton's in front of me. I don't want to mess up Lewis. He's a human being.
Yeah.
And I think it's also that these cars feel almost more similar to me or familiar to me, like driving them in a game, than a supercar does in like a Forza, because these almost just feel like very intense go-karts.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I don't know what the heck, like a Lamborghini, whatever it feels like to drive. I'm all over the place with that thing. But with these things, they accelerate so fast, they brake so fast, and their handling is so good that you don't have to like make up for as many fuck ups as like a supercar is going to make you do in a Forza game. Yeah. At least that was my experience with it. It's just really easy to not slam into somebody at the last second because your brakes are just pretty much instantaneous. You're like, stop.
Yeah.
So and I really enjoy that. I've always tried to like drive politely in other racing games to be like, okay, I'm trying to get like the real simulation experience, but it just never, I do one lap and I'm like, okay, all bets are off. I'm trying to get first place. Let's go. But with this, I'm just like, okay, I went from like 15th to 3rd. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Like I still got points for my team. We're good. And I do think that also the team aspect of it plays a part in it, where like if you hit someone or if you go over a track, like someone over your headset will come in and be like, hey, you can't do that. Like just stop. And they have a very British accent, and they're not necessarily mad at you. They're just like reprimanding you gently.
Yeah,
like,
you need to stop doing this.
You need to stop doing this because we really need these points. There's a long season. We'll get them in the next race. Just calm down, race your race, and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I found that very comforting,
reassuring,
reassuring in a way, which I also really liked. I'm like, okay, they don't want to drive as aggressive. We're good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try to pass them when I can. I'm in a good position already. The guy said so. Easy, baby. Yeah. That's fine. So I really like that it asks you to drive a certain way, and then not in a way that necessarily rewards you, but not penalizing you, and then having like this weird social contract with the other drivers and your team.
Yeah.
That they somehow magically get you to buy into with, I guess, the drama of it all is really well done. So I appreciate that about this game.
I'm not sure if they model this in the game, but also like any crash in an F1 car is just like fucking catastrophic. Like there's no way to lightly tap someone's tires. It's like the fucking car will flip over if you like do it wrong.
Yeah. They are not built for safety. They are built for one thing and one thing only, and that is speed, baby. Yeah. They have some simulated crashes that are like part of the storyline, but I never had one in the game because I was trying to be a good boy.
Yeah,
be a good boy. And then one other thing that I really enjoyed about this game that I want to give it its flowers for is they did the Forza brake lines, probably the best I've ever seen them done in a game.
Interesting.
For me personally, is that so they have, of course, like the lines on the ground that show you like the best route to take, how to take the turns, and it goes green to red when you should start to brake, right? But what they'll also do is that they will start to stand up vertically to tell you when you really need to start to brake. So if you're coming in faster than maybe it is telling you to, it will dynamically change and be like, hey, you see where these lines are standing like straight vertically up and they're red? You really got to brake here, man. Otherwise, you're going to go out of control. Of course, there is like a flashback option, which works well, but of course, you don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a really nice spin on the brake lines for a game, especially for someone like me who is colorblind and green and red don't always differentiate well. I can just rely on how vertical or how angled. So it will go from totally flat to the ground and then kind of angle up. And if it's standing straight up, you're like, okay, I really need to hit the brakes now. As opposed to if it's like maybe at a 45-degree angle, you're like, okay, like a medium brake and then I'm through.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that was really nice.
That's cool. I'll have to check this out. I've been like just kind of in the background. I pulled out some of the cutscenes to just like look at them. Bananas.
Right?
Crazy.
They're really going hard with the graphics and the motion capture for the faces. It's really impressive, actually.
They like must have captured like actual performances for this because it just simply looks too real.
There's no way these weren't motion capture.
Yeah. Not to mention too, like in looking at this, they're trying to hammer on the success of Drive to Survive. Like so many of these like interview moments where they're sitting in like a sound stage or something like that, it looks identical to the Netflix show.
There you go.
It's interesting.
I'm here for the petty drama.
Yeah. I mean, like that's what the show is hammering on. You know, I'm sure that they play that stuff up for the camera and like, you know, there's a lot of production in that, but especially in a video game, like why not make that the central part of this?
Absolutely.
It's cool. I got to play this. I feel like I had tried to play one of them. I don't think I did like a career mode. I just did like, let me race some races and it was interesting, but it didn't like grasp me. But hey man, story mode, I'm in. I want to play a story.
I was into it. And I like the racing. The racing is it feels very different than a Forza for sure.
Yes.
Because of just how responsive things are. Is it a simulation? I don't know. There's probably some arcadey elements to it, like most games, but felt good to drive.
Yeah. I'm sure it's also like any other modern racer where you can probably tune the difficulty to a certain extent. Like I'm sure there's like an actual simulation mode that is just nightmarish to play, but it looks cool.
I was on easy mode. It was fun.
Cool. Hell yeah.
I have also been playing Resident Evil 2 still.
Oh yeah. You're playing through Claire's route this time?
Yes. Claire.
Cool.
I beat it with Claire.
Sweet. Okay. Nice.
I like Claire.
Yes,
Claire
she's cool.
Is very different than Leon. Leon is perpetually surprised throughout this game. Claire is perpetually like angry at these zombies. Just call them like bastards. What the hell is wrong with you? Things like that. Like, of course, they're zombies. That's what's wrong with them.
There's no agency here, Claire.
Leon's just like, Jesus Christ. Whereas Jill's more like, shit. Just blasting things and people. It's pretty great. I also love her weapon set. I think I prefer it to Leon's, especially the grenade launcher.
Yeah, it's very fun.
That thing messes up those lickers, which I love. Yeah. You just hit them once and they are donezo, which was great. I really liked that you got a much more final conclusion and battle with William Birkin.
Yes. Yeah.
In this one, I like how Leon got Mr. X and Claire gets Willie B. And I just love the big old nasty monster he became with all the eyes coming out of him and just getting the minigun at the end and seeing how many slots it takes up on your inventory, but knowing like, hey, this is fine. This is it. This is definitely worth 2 slots on here. I'm going to drop some things.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable. And then one other thing that I really liked about Claire playthrough was the orphanage level where you're playing as little baby Birkin.
Shelly? Was that her name?
Sherry.
Yeah.
Sherry Birkin. That was maybe some of the scariest moments in the game, honestly, where you're being stalked by the police chief who's just a real freak.
Yeah.
You did not feel safe for any moment of that.
No.
Especially since you're a child and like at least when you're Claire fighting zombies, you have a gun, like you kick some ass.
Yeah.
Like you are a like sickly, weak child when this police chief is chasing you around this building.
Yeah.
And not a good time. Spooky in a very different way.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
I also thought that moment was really good. They like do such a good job of like kind of changing the stakes all of a sudden like that.
Yeah.
Because I think like for whatever reason, Capcom just like knows how to do it. They know how to make something really frightening. And like you were saying, the give and take of that game sometimes is, you know, how much action can you balance with horror to make it still fun, but also scary. But clearly they know how to make something just horrifying. Because like I don't remember there even being zombies in that section.
No. It's just you and the police chief. That's it.
Yeah. And so like, listen, I know the message of like the humans are the real bad guys, but like they do nail that here.
They sure do.
Of like making just a regular dude who's like mean to children, the main bad guy. Plus they kind of like, Sherry kind of fucks him up a little bit at a certain point too. So like he's physically very scary too. It was a great section. Yeah.
Showing the monster he is underneath.
Correct. Yeah. It's very good.
Is that portion in the original? Like how much, since you played the original, how much of this is in the original?
I feel like none of it. I may be wrong about that.
Is Claire's portion in the original?
Claire is in it. I think you do get the same option of being able to choose your protagonist in the beginning of 2. Again, I played this when it came out, which was like 98, 99, something like that.
Sure.
So like my memory may be fading, but if I remember, I don't think there was any amount of Sherry parts in the game. I think that she was a character in the game, like the that her like presence was still there at all, but I certainly don't think there was like a stealth section in the original Resident Evil 2.
Gotcha. But yeah, this game was really great.
Yeah.
And just to touch on something you've talked about a lot before about Resident Evil games, it is fun going through the second playthrough and just it's an action game at that point. Especially just seeing the difference between Leon and Claire going into the nest, the final level of the game.
Yeah.
When I was Leon going into that level, I was limping. I was on death's door, essentially. No healing items, barely any ammunition, just hanging on by a thread. When I was Claire, I was like Rambo going into the nest. I was just ammo up to my teeth. I had so many things stocked away in the chest. I was like, if I run out of ammo, if I run out of healing, it's fine. I got like 5 things deep in this chest I can just get to, and I'm good. We're fine. She went through like the Terminator. Leon went through like a normal human being would in this
just
situation.
A guy. Yeah.
Just a man. Yeah. So a really, really well done game. Just beautiful, well paced, great.
Yeah.
And now I'm really excited to play through 3 and 4. And I think 3 is supposed to be coming to Game Pass and PlayStation Plus soon. So
that one's fun. I'm interested to see what your take is on that one, because I do think there are some differences between 2 and 3, like on a lot of levels. I think the length is one of the bigger departures from 2 and 3, but I didn't necessarily find that as a bad thing. And I think especially if you're playing it on like a Game Pass thing where like you know, you don't have necessarily like financial investment in one thing being long or not.
Yeah.
Then it might land well for you as well.
We said 3 is really short, right?
Yes, 3 is much shorter than 2.
Much shorter. I'd beat 2 in like 6 hours.
Okay, maybe not that short, but the speed, like the version of the game where it's like, hey, finish Resident Evil 3 again, but faster this time. I think the limit for like a good rating was like 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that. You can beat it very quickly.
Okay.
I don't think you will the first time, because like a lot of it, like, you know, there's kind of an open section in the beginning that you can, you know, take your time with and shit like that. So I don't think like the whole runtime is going to be that short, but still. At least in my experience, 3 was shorter than 2.
Okay. I'm interested. I'm definitely going to play it. That's for sure.
It's definitely worth it, especially if you liked this one. It's more of similar stuff. Plus you're playing as Jill Valentine, who I like. I think she's cool.
She's that's Mila Jovovich, right? Or is she her own character in the Resident Evil movies?
Yeah, she's her own character.
Okay.
Alice in that one. Very bizarre series of movies.
Yeah.
I think I liked them as a kid. I have no idea if they would hold up now, but I feel like they were fun. I don't know. I might be wrong. Who knows?
This isn't a movie podcast, that's for sure.
It sure isn't.
Sure ain't.
I feel so unequipped to do like movie analysis in any capacity.
But Dune was good, right?
Dune was good as hell. That's the only thing I can say on here. What else you got?
Last one I have is Scott Pilgrim.
Whoa. The like side-scrolling beat 'em up game?
The side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about it.
This is a game that Mallory and I are playing together.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's great for 2 players.
Yeah.
Really, really good. But man, this game is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is really good for what it is. It's beautifully animated. It has it's just like, I think, the perfect amount of challenge to it, which is a hard line to walk, I think, with these types of games.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's very punishing, but it also allows you to revive your partner if you are able to clear space for them and have enough time to, you know, get them back so they don't waste a life.
Yeah.
And I do really like how it controls. It has it's interesting to say, but it kind of has like this almost stiffness to it. It's not super fluid. You really have to press the buttons where you want to go.
Yeah.
Which makes it, for me, feel more like an arcade style, like cabinet game.
Yeah.
You have to be very purposeful with what you are doing, what direction you're facing, and what buttons like you're pressing to attack something.
Yeah.
And it's a little tough to get used to at first, but once you get it, you're like, oh no, I don't think I want this to control any other way than just like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once you get it, you're like, no, this is the way it should be done. I love that there's really great buddy moves in this game.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're beating up on somebody, they'll start like just both wailing on them, crazy style, which is very fun. Great like special moves in the game as well. Lots of awesome weapons you can use.
Yeah.
Like Mallory's a huge fan of the Simpsons brawling game. That was a cabinet for a long time. She's like, oh yeah, it's just like Bart's skateboard in this one.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, you got it, baby. And it's just and really fun bosses too.
Mm-hmm.
They're all unique and interesting, and it just feels so distinctly retro and old school throughout all of it, but with just like a little bit of modern flair in just how well animated and clear everything is. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Had you played the original release back when it came out?
I played a little bit of it. I do not remember how or when or why I did. I think I might have played a demo,
probably,
potentially. And I remember thinking like, wow, that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But these games are always so much more enjoyable if I have someone to play them with.
Totally.
I don't think I had anyone to play them with at that time. So I just kind of fell off of it. But then when I saw it was on, I have it on the Switch. It was on sale for the Switch and I had a gift card. I'm like,
hell yeah.
I'll buy this for like $5, something like that.
Yeah.
So worth it. Really a lot of fun. Recommend it to anyone who's a fan of this genre of game or who just wants a fun like party game to play with people, because you can also just smash buttons and do just fine.
Yeah, it's still fun. Yeah.
Besides do your crazy combos and like be the cool person in the group. You can do either one and it's a totally valid way to play, which also I think is a hard
balance
line to toe with these types of games without making it feel unfair for either side, right?
Yeah, it's the Smash Bros conundrum of like, how do you make it fun for the one person who barely knows how to play Smash Bros, but also the person who's been playing since they were, 5 or whatever.
Exactly.
I have a lot of love for these kind of like side-scrolling beat 'em up games. They were like obviously very hot when you and I were like much younger.
Yep.
Like I think of this and like Final Fight was one that I liked a lot. Streets of Rage, also
Streets of Rage,
Turtles in Time is goated, obviously. I think there's a lot of fun to them, and I think you're totally right that like playing these solo is okay, but like not nearly the experience it is that playing with more than one person is.
Can you do it? Is it a valid way of playing it?
Sure.
Yes. But it's just so much better if you have someone else to just share in the insanity with, because that's part of what these games are, is there's always something just ridiculous going on.
Yeah.
That kind of defies explanation. Like, why am I fighting like some crazy dog right now? Why is this person so big and like has like shards of glass on their hands and beating Wallace up? Like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
There's an absurdity to it that is best enjoyed in a group.
Yeah, no, totally. Everybody can sort of like react to it and like experience it at the same time. That's true. I may be misremembering this, but it's interesting to hear about it now these days, because at the time it felt like one of the first quote unquote like indie games that was doing the kind of like retro pixel style on purpose. Which feels bizarre now because, that is everywhere. I wouldn't I feel like for a few years there, my interpretation of that style was like, oh, it's kind of overdone or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the interest in it has like waned just a little bit to the point where it's just kind of part of the industry now. It's like not necessarily like a fad. It's just like, well, people just make games that look like this. And it's not necessarily some trend that people are chasing. It's still very popular, but not in the way that, it feels like Souls-likes are the thing that like every other company's like, well, we got to have a Souls-like part of our game here. Not every company is like, we need to have like cool indie pixel art in our game. It's bizarre because I think this game came out in like 2010 if I remember correctly.
Came out a while ago.
Yeah, it was at least from my experience, it was one of the like Xbox arcade games where they were putting out like a handful of indie games there that felt like kind of a new wave of video games. I think Braid was part of that too, where it felt like something different than Halo was offering at the time or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
Just really cool. I would love to boost my knowledge of that a little bit more, because most of it is just firsthand like anecdotal shit of me being like, I remember when that came out. But I would love to see like what the push was and like, did that actually start the indie game scene, or was that something that was boiling somewhere else or whatever? It's an interesting time for video games, that moment. Yeah,
there were two paths that really opened up at that point.
And I feel like it didn't really like pay off super hard for another couple of years. I remember 2010 and some of the indie games there, but like I feel like it wasn't until like, I don't know, Undertale was really popping off, or like any of those like more standard, what I would call like traditional indie games like made a big deal. Like Stardew Valley too is something I think of, where it's like, hey, indie games are a thing that are kind of big now. Yep. It's interesting.
Really does feel like a parallel industry at some points.
Yeah, definitely. Even still. Yeah, it's a whole thing. I'm sure we could sit here and talk about it for hours and hours.
Sure could.
It's interesting. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim is a good game. I liked my time with this one too.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun and a great way to engage in games with my significant other.
Yeah. Did you guys play Shredder's Revenge? I can't remember if you did or not.
We played a little bit of that one, but it keeps on like leaving Game Pass or PlayStation Plus whenever we want to get back into it.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a higher learning curve for that one than this one. This one, I think it's so much more similar to the Simpsons brawler game. Mallory just had an instant knowledge of how to play it.
Totally.
And just went to town. I'm like, she was doing great. It was awesome.
Kicking ass.
She was kicking ass. She was kicking serious ass. It was great to see.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Video games are good, man.
Video games are good.
They're so good.
Now I want to hear about the good game that you are playing, Chase.
Yeah, I got one video game this week because, again, per usual, I've been playing a bunch of other shit, but it's all shit that I've talked about.
Yeah.
I'm like nearing the end of Persona 3. I'm going to wait to talk about it because I'm so close to the end. I might as well just wait until the very end of this video game to talk about it. It's getting very heavy in Persona 3.
In a good way?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. A lot of like kind of intense story beats are happening, but in ways that are definitely set up and don't feel like hacky or anything. It's like, the game has clearly been leading up to this shit for a long time.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's, I think, not to get too deep into it, but like some of the other Persona games, like there are beats that feel less significant than others. And I think this one has a much clearer slope of narrative, like going from kind of not super wild initially, like things are happening and you're like, oh, it's interesting that this is the way it is. But like, it's like just kind of smaller plot beats that eventually build up to like a lot of wild shit happening. Whereas like sometimes in 4 or 5, like they'll have like what feels like not a filler episode, but something where it's like, this doesn't necessarily build to the larger plot.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's still phenomenal. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Cool.
It's still playing Balatro, obviously. But the thing that I've been playing a lot of this week is a game called Unicorn Overlord, David.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
I actually played this demo, but I didn't want to talk too much about it.
Oh yeah, sure enough. Now's our chance, baby. It's corn in time.
It's what? Excuse you. No, that's not what people say, right?
You don't like corn in time?
It's corn in time?
Yeah.
Oh man, I guess we could do corn in time. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. No problems from my end. Unicorn Overlord is a game that I feel like we had unknowingly been building up to preparing for a while. We played Ogre Battle 64, and we also played the Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Falsebound Kingdom for good games, both of them independently of one another, but like played those, and both of us, or at least I did, in my recollection, was like, I don't think I've played games like this before.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Essentially, it is this interesting combination of real-time strategy and I guess tactics or something like that. But it is a form of real-time strategy that is simplified pretty significantly, where in something like StarCraft, you have like, base building is a part of the game, army management is another part, and then the strategy part of it is there. But what Ogre Battle 64 did was like, it gave you very specific units and said like, okay, here's a predefined map, and your job is mostly to just order the units around in a good order and try to exploit the weaknesses of the enemy units.
Yeah, in real time.
Yeah. So when you click A, you watch them wander across the battlefield until they get there, rather than like, them immediately jumping over there, or in something like Fire Emblem where you hit move and they immediately move and there's no real delay between that.
And the enemy's moving at the same time you are.
Yeah, correct. So like everything's kind of happening all at once. And I feel like something, at least from my end, that I experienced when we were playing those was like, this is really interesting, and I really wish that this wasn't on the N64.
Yeah.
Because like, or even on the GameCube in the case of the Yu-Gi-Oh game, because like, so it seemed so interesting, and like the concepts of the game, I was like, that could be really good, but just like the experience of playing the video game was really challenging.
Yeah.
Both of them had like really gigantic manuals, and the learning curve of them was really intense, despite the fact I think the Yu-Gi-Oh game had a little bit more by way of explanation. Like they talked a little bit in game about like what you should be doing, but even that felt like I was unprepared.
Yeah, I was trying to talk one language and they were talking another, especially with the Yu-Gi-Oh, because that was my first experience with this type of game. Same. And I'd be curious to see how I deal with it now, because I think I was just overwhelmed with it when I first played it. I just didn't know what was going on.
It definitely is. It feels like both of those games were made in an alternate universe where those kind of games are very popular, and like, we don't need to explain all this to you. You already know. Like,
you know what you're here for.
Yeah. And I was like, I actually
right trigger is shoot.
Duh. Yeah. Like it is operating on kind of a similar amount of assumptions that like you've played a first person shooter before. You know what's going on.
X is jump.
Of course. Yeah. Well, obviously.
So, yeah.
But it was not that. And I think that there was like clearly so much depth in both of those video games, and especially Ogre Battle 64, I think in hindsight, but that it was just like, I really wish that there was this thing in modern day. Lo and behold, Unicorn Overlord comes charging down the mountain.
Comes charging down.
I was like truly unaware of this game's presence really until Matt was like in Discord, hey, do you know this is coming out too? And both of us were like, no, I have no idea about this.
I got the hot goss from GameStop, baby.
That is
Once
true,
they saw
yeah.
that I was an Octopath Traveler 2 man myself, they're like,
Yes, yeah.
hey, Unicorn Overlord, check it out if this is your jam. And they were pretty right.
Very right. Yeah, very correct. For anybody who's like not up to date about this game like I was, Unicorn Overlord is by way of mechanics very similar to what we just described, but it is made by Vanillaware. Vanillaware are, I think, most recently famous for 13 Sentinels. Dragon's Crown was the one before 13 Sentinels. And I had also checked out Odin Sphere, which was for the PS2. And I'll say like all of the games at the very least, the things that they have in common are like the art in almost every one of these is just obscene. Like it is so wild how good it is.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of this like hand drawn kind of like anime style, but like, God, it just looks so good all the time. I think, 13 Sentinels, especially just because of like the presence of sci-fi, I was really impressed with how that game looked visually.
Yeah.
You can listen to Asynchronous's whole season about 13 Sentinels if you're more curious about that. Into the Aether also has a very good episode about it. It was a game that I liked, but it's a lot. And so if you're not prepared for like all of the shit that it is bringing, it's not a casual game that you can just sort of like, I'll just mindlessly play through this. Like, yeah, there are 13 storylines running in maybe parallel with one another, and you do need to kind of like track all of those. And if you can, it's miraculous. But if you're just checking it out to see what's going on, it's not really a pop in and play kind of game.
Gotcha.
But something Vanillaware had said when they were developing this game is like, with 13 Sentinels, they wanted the story to take front and center. And so the mechanics were a little bit of like the background, right? The tactics in that game are not the focal point of it. They're interesting, but like the battles are not the thing you're there for. Whereas they were most kind of interested in flipping that with Unicorn Overlord of like, okay, maybe the story is a little bit less wild, but the mechanics are the thing that we are interested in. And boy, are they interesting.
Yeah.
Really, really wild shit going on, which I'll touch on in a second. I think something else that simply has to be commented upon when playing a Vanillaware game is like, it's so horny, the video game.
Yeah.
The character designs are so horny. And
the animations too.
The idle animations, because some of them are like just a cool knight in armor and like, God, that looks good, right? Like the evil mage whose cape is always billowing in the back and it looks fucking sick. And the other time, there's just a lady with big yabos, and the yabos are also idling while you're just kind of standing. Yeah, they're yabbing. It's a lot. And so like, I think it is important to know that going in, because like it's a splash of cold water if you're not expecting it.
Yeah, it could take you out of it if you didn't expect it.
Yeah, or if that's just something you're like allergic to. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. I think like compared to Dragon's Crown, this one is a little bit more reserved. Dragon's Crown was like unruly with the fucking character designs in there. And like this one, it's present, but it doesn't feel quite as egregious, but it is still there, right? There are certain characters that like, the stances that they stand in, I'm like, that's not comfortable. Why would you do that other than to...
Yeah, that's not a human stance.
No, absolutely not. Or like a lot of the witches, their like idle animations are absolutely ridiculous. So that's a thing that's present. I'm not crazy about it, but on the scale of things that will really take me out of it, I see it every time like, oh my God, but it's not something that will rip me out of it, But that line is going to be different for everybody. Anyway, the actual mechanics of this video game are similar. They're this combination of real-time strategy and tactics that is fascinating. And I think the thing that we were hoping for when we played Ogre Battle 64, like a better experience of playing this kind of game, is present here. It is, they do such a good job of just slowly building the complexity ramp in this game up to the point where like you're doing really wild shit by, a couple hours in. But they didn't start you like that. At the beginning, it's just, okay, move a person. That's all you're responsible for right now.
Yeah.
Is move a character on the map. Whenever you like encounter someone, like your two characters meet, it does the same thing that those other games do in that it just auto battles, right? Like you go into a fight and your characters are all positioned in a way that you have decided, and they just kind of run their script, right? Which is going to differ depending on what units are in which like group. But, a lot of the time it's like, okay, this person attacks, then this person attacks, then this character is set to heal if somebody falls below a certain, threshold, or this guy is somebody who heals himself. And so if he takes a certain amount of a damage, he'll do that on his turn or whatever. But you're really responsible for none of that in the moment. It just happens. And so there's this interesting kind of like combination of like an auto battler that's in there too. A genre that like I'm still hunting for the one that works for me, you know?
Ooh, searching for the one.
I liked the like Dota auto chess that they had, but I wasn't in love with it.
Sure.
But I really liked the ideas there of like the combat is actually the thing that is streamlined and you don't take care of. It's all the other shit that you're responsible for.
It's management.
Yeah, it's management and like placement and positioning, that kind of stuff, and like planning ahead. That's interesting to kind of shift the weight there. But anyway, the game just initially says, okay, move somebody, attack somebody. It's all very clear. You know, the way that these games work is that there's usually an enemy base and you have a base, and you know, if yours gets taken, you lose, and if you get theirs, you win. They slowly start layering stuff on of like, okay, now you can build your own group of people, right? It's essentially a 3x6 like tile set that you get where you can just choose where to put people. And, you know, if you have a big tanky guy, usually you want to put him in the front so he can take some damage so that your like healer doesn't get absolutely blasted the first round, you know. But the game also encourages you, like, you should try some shit out, like experiment and figure out like what works, what different class combinations go well with others. But they also do like this, it's so helpful. When you get a new class, they're essentially like, hey, here's an example unit of where this person might go. So helpful, so nice to see that and be like, okay, I'm going to at least stick with that for a little while and then maybe modify it or change it up.
Get used to the base and then experiment.
Yes. Yeah. And I think they do a really good job of making a very obvious like main path that you can follow as far as like how to approach battles. And you can divert and change things and probably be a lot better at the game. But the difficulty is still like enough that even if you're just kind of keeping the units that they suggest in the same groups, that you'll probably be at least all right. You know, like there have been a couple times where I had to kind of figure out like, okay, I'm doing something wrong in this fight, because whenever you go up and fight, you also see like what you're projected, or it essentially just tells you like how much damage each side will take before you actually engage in the fight. At that point, you can choose like if there's another unit next to it, you can swap them in instead, or, you know, use an item before you fight. And there'll be times where you're running up against guys and you're like, God, I'm making like no progress fighting them. And so like I need to maybe try a different unit, right? And so that happens every now and then, but it's pretty rare that I'm just like totally stopped, dead center. They also have the very kind optimize button on somebody's character sheet. Oh
yeah.
So like if you don't want to manage the items or like the strategy, you can just hit optimize and it'll probably give you something pretty good.
There's a lot going on these character sheets sometimes. So
yes, yeah. And again, I think that they do a really good job of offering you a lot of time to just kind of get used to the game, because like those other ones that we had played, like Ogre Battle 64, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
But they don't just sort of like thrust you into it all immediately, which is just, it's great for me. I think when I'm thinking about these kind of games, like especially like I really love Fire Emblem. Like that is a game that I have a lot of love for.
Yes.
And I think that as far as complexity goes, like if you play on really hard difficulties, Fire Emblem is interesting. Like you really do have to consider what you're doing, but especially on like normal, it's pretty straightforward, right? Like there's not a really good chance that you're going to be losing battles left and right if you're just kind of adhering to like put the big fella up front and, you know, make sure you're remembering the weapon triangle correctly and that you're kind of like using enough units to spread the experience around, you know? If you're doing that, you'll be all right for the most part. Whereas like with this one, I think that they do offer a little bit more depth here, that there are more things to experiment with. There's more tactics that you can change. And it just, it offers you more to test in this game rather in Fire Emblem, where it does seem kind of simplified. And then on the other end of the spectrum, like with other RTS games, I think when I think of real-time strategy games, I think of shit that is incredibly complicated. Like like the Total War games, I'm sure for people who are like very familiar with them are, you know, oh, it's not that bad. But like learning those games as someone who was like, I learned how to play them in like my 20s or something. I'd already been playing games for a while. I'd already played Warcraft and Starcraft and shit. I was out of my depth. Those games kicked my ass for a while.
Yeah.
Until I kind of learned what they wanted me to do. It's hard. They're very hard games. Especially a lot of the Total Wars where it's like you're controlling a whole army of people that you need to be like balanced against the person that you're fighting, which, you know, you then pull back into the big map and it's like, oh my God, there's so much shit I need to be managing here. But even something like Warcraft or Starcraft, like I think that those games have a pretty simple campaign that like likely will not kick your ass too bad.
Yeah.
But I think the depth of those games is usually offered in the multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
That is where the game is, I wouldn't say meant to be played, but that is where a lot of the difficulty is tuned for, is fighting other people, like other humans and shit like that. And like just personally, the part that is more mechanically interesting to me. I really like playing through the campaigns of those games because they're just like fun. I think Blizzard did a really good job with those early RTSs into just making a fun story that you can kind of go through. But the part of that is that has staying power, and why you see people still playing like StarCraft 1 is because there's so much cool shit going on under the hood there. But even with Blizzard's version, where it is mostly simplified, where like you know, there's a lot of edges sanded off, it's still a wildly complicated game compared to like Fire Emblem, you know? Fire Emblem is tactical and shit like that, but there's so many moving parts. Like Fire Emblem did not invent the term actions per minute, right? StarCraft was when that first started getting used a lot. Gotta get your APM up, you know?
Gotta get them up.
And so that there's just so much there, but I think that the joy of, at least for me personally, the joy of tactics games isn't necessarily always found in the complexity. It's found in the depth, but not the complexity, if that makes any sense. I think a game can be really deep, but you don't have to necessarily engage with the complexity all the time for it to be fun. Sure. And like, you know, full disclosure, Warcraft does a great job of that, right? Like it is a thing that you can manage to make a little bit less complex, but if you want to be playing with other people, it's nuts, right? Like you have to be very careful. And so I think it's really cool when a game like Unicorn Overlord comes along and does that, right? That it is simplifying a lot of the RTS genre while still maintaining the option, if you want to make it more complex for yourself and be like, okay, because something I haven't even touched on is that a big part of the game is that you can, in like the character sheets, essentially do like some light programming of like, here's what this guy needs to do. If he's the first one to hit, then just go ahead and hit with this attack. However, if he's below 50% health, first use a health item on himself to heal. If he's not, there's a big beefy person actually wait, because he's not going to do that much damage. I should just wait for my mage in that case. And so like there's an intense amount of complexity that you can get into there and probably just like kick absolute ass. Yeah. And that's all really cool that you can engage with that. But it's also like the standard stuff thus far has been working. It may be the case that when I get to the end game, I will need to be like absolutely optimizing the snot out of those. But for the moment, I'm like, you know, through the first, what I would consider the first act of the game, and I haven't had to like really dial that shit in. It's mostly just like, hey, I see this guy using his heal ability a little bit too often. I'm actually going to tell him to do that only when he's below a certain threshold, right? And I think the more that the game offers you opportunities to still be doing okay, but seeing the kind of inefficiencies is where it shines for me, of like, I feel like I'm still making progress. I'm not just at some hard wall. It's just like, oh, I see this thing happening that I bet I could make a little bit better, which is cool. It's cool to make a machine and see it work well. It's weirdly, the only other thing that really reminds me of this game is Pikmin, in the sense that Pikmin is also kind of a real-time strategy game, right? Yeah. Like managing resources and telling Pikmin where to go and what to do. I think Pikmin has even more edges sanded off of it and is more on the real time. It's just like very in the moment, right? Like you are very directly controlling your Pikmin. But I think that there's a similar concept there where it is trying to give you this like kind of complex thought process that you have to put together and make sure that you're prepared for every kind of fight in a certain way, and then having you execute on that. I think obviously Unicorn Overlord is a little bit more complicated, but it reminds me of the same kind of idea. Yeah. But I'm having a really good time with this game. It is really great. I love the complexity. I will also say something I was really not expecting, but God, it's just so good, is when you get out of a battle in something like Fire Emblem, you will probably get a cutscene and then it will just take you to like an overworld map where you click on another level. It's like, all right, go ahead. Or in Three Houses, it's like you go back to the Garreg Mach and then you can do a bunch of shit. And then you say, all right, we're going to do the next level. And then it just takes you to a predetermined area. It's not the case in Unicorn Overlord. It's this like very interesting interconnected world that they have. Yeah. And you can just like run around the overworld and there's like shit to explore. It reminds me a lot of Octopath and just kind of the visual style it's communicating, and just all the nooks and crannies that it lets you into. There's all these towns and cities that you can make what they call deliveries, which are just like items that you can find in the overworld, which if you do enough of them, it upgrades the town to like give you cooler shit. shit and stuff like that, which then gives you more points to be able to upgrade your units and, upgrade how many units you can have or how many groups or how many people can be in each unit.
Yeah.
All of that's really, really good. I think that Vanillaware is really exceptional at making all of their mechanics kind of roll into this one ball that like the moment that you're doing one thing, you're like, oh, I can't wait for this other part because I'm going to get rewarded for doing this thing and then eventually be able to do that. It's like, it's the
ding train.
It's the ding train. Yeah. Chugga chugga choo choo. I'm on the ding train, baby. It's the Hades thing where even if you get beat, you are very rarely disappointed because you're like, well, I got a lot of points and I'm very excited to do whatever I can do with those points. And so in this game, it's the same thing of like, I am excited to go fight a new battle because that will unlock a new area that I can explore that will give me more stuff to upgrade different towns, to be able to fight different people and recruit more units and shit like that. All of it's very, very good. And yeah, it's interconnected in a way that is hard to do, but God, it really grips me whenever a game does that.
Oh yeah.
And I think it also just like connects you up to the world more. The story is like fine, but something that is a central focus of it is the land and the world that you're a part of. And I think it does a lot to center you in the place by allowing you to literally wander around these areas. It makes the land and the countries that you're wandering through like more grounded. It's more tangible to be able to see like, well, I know this city. I've been there a bunch of times and I've upgraded it and like I have this person stationed there or whatever. All of that's very, very good. Yeah, story's fine. It is bad guy is present. Beat him.
It's fantasy.
Beat the bad guy. Yeah.
Reclaim the throne.
Yes, reclaim the throne. You have been unrightfully usurped.
You have been betrayed and you need the throne back.
Gotta get that throne. Don't let me get in my zone, sir. So yeah, I think I don't need the story to be exceptional. In fact, my history of playing and beating almost every Fire Emblem minus 3 houses is evidence that I don't need the story to be very good. Some of them are interesting, but like it's rarely that exceptional.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar in the way that, the story's fine, but that's not really what I'm there for. They do offer you a couple of like choices here and there of like, do you want to spare this person that you just beat or do you want to recruit them? Some of them are very easy choices for me of like, this person clearly doesn't have any allegiance with this army and like, I should probably just let them join my party because they're cool. But there's plenty of guys who are total dickheads and they're like, are you sure you want to let me go? Maybe there's not a lot of moments where it's like, wow, I'm really struggling with this decision. It's like, do I want to let the nice, cute anime girl go? Or do I want to kill the guy who's like been torturing the villagers for months and months? It's like, okay, well,
good questions.
Yeah. It's
real tough
good.
Choices.
Yeah. Not a lot of moral dilemma here. So yeah, I'm loving most of it minus some of the kind of brutal, cringy character designs. Yeah, that's most of it. It's good. I like tactics games, so it's not necessarily a surprise that this is interesting to me, but I didn't expect to be this in on it, and I really am. It's great. Unicorn Overlord. It's a video game that maybe fun. You should check out. Yeah, it's good.
Demo. There's a demo right now.
Yeah. I think it's pretty generous as far as time goes,
it's a lengthy demo. Yeah.
So if you can definitely check it out to see if that's your jam at all. So yeah, that's Unicorn Overlord, the only game that I'm really playing in earnest.
Wow.
Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
This week, it's a new pair of Joy-Cons, David.
Ooh.
I got a brand new pair of Joy-Cons.
No drift, baby.
No drift
zone.
I will clarify, not Podtimistic about why I need more Joy-Cons. The origin of that purchase decision is not something I love. But man, new pair of Joy-Cons just hits different. They're so nice. I got these like it's like a soft couple of colors. They're like a pastel color and they just look great. They're like a kind of light pink and green.
Peach and Luigi.
Yeah, it looks like candy. It looks delicious. The finish on them is very good. But the main reason I was prompted to even get them in the first place is I didn't really feel like I was getting my ass kicked with drift too much on the Joy-Cons. But for whatever reason, Unicorn Overlord, I think, has not a lot of dead zone in the way that it's expecting you to input your directions. I was finding myself constantly running in one direction by accident. I'm like, oh God, are my like Joy-Cons that fucked up? Which I wasn't expecting. I replaced the joysticks in one of them a couple of months back with like the Hall Effect joysticks, which shouldn't drift, but here I am. I don't know. Maybe it was something that I didn't fix in there, but just got a new pair. Feel great. Buttons are very responsive. Not squished with thousands of button presses over many years. I haven't pressed A on Slay the Spire quite as many times on these ones.
Yes.
But,
pressed into the ground by many dings.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was part of me that was a little bit like resistant to doing it because like, maybe the Switch 2 is coming out, but like how long must I suffer? You're
gonna get a good long time out of these, I think, before Switch 2 is really hitting us.
Yeah, there was like the rumors of it being out this year and then maybe early next year. So I don't know. We'll see, man.
I think I heard early next year is what I was sensing.
Yeah, I think that's the most recent news with that. So it probably will. I don't know.
They'll start to drift in about a year anyway. So
sure. Yeah, that's going to be the end of that life cycle anyway. Although maybe they'll let you reuse them on the next one. Who knows? Hopefully not. Hopefully they make a different controller that doesn't drift. So
it's going to be all drift. That's what they're going to do drift. For the Switch 2. It's going to be the drift.
All of their games, you have to expect to constantly be moving right just a little bit.
It's like the play date, but instead of a crank, you have
it's an automatic drifting analog stick. Yeah. Anyway, it feels great. Feels good in the hand.
Hell yeah. Love a new
I'm also
controller.
traveling soon. I just wanted, to not have to worry about drift when I'm traveling.
Absolutely. Yep, is drift a big problem for Balatro?
Balatro? No, and in fact, it's definitely a game that I could play without Joy-Cons. It's got very good touchscreen support.
Right. You said just touch it.
But even still, Unicorn Overlord, I couldn't be fucking around with. I kept just like unselecting the character I was trying to select because I would get them and then it would just immediately start moving to the right of it. Anyway. It's fun. Feels good. David, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism?
I do. What is it? It is the new game coming out, Sandland.
Oh, is this the Akira Toriyama game?
It is.
Yes.
I'm just excited for more Akira Toriyama stuff. It's based off of one of his old mangas he did back in the day. Yeah. And I just had no idea they were making this game. And I thought it was just a great way to see his spirit and his works living on. So it just made me very happy to see like, oh yeah, he's still with us. He's not here, but he's with us still. So yeah, I'm actually kind of curious to see what this game is like because it looks beautifully animated.
Visually it's amazing.
I just love that stuff. I just love that style. There's something so nostalgic about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if the game's going to be good, but it looks fun.
Yeah, it's. I cannot tell from the previews of this game if it looks good or not.
Looked at it. I watched the trailer a couple times. I'm like, I don't know one way or the other at all.
It could so easily be very fun, but like just based on the previews, it could also be not very good at all.
Yeah, could be very mediocre.
Yes, yeah, a very okay game.
Mm-hmm.
Could do it on the pod. That is true. Depending on how good this is, it'll either show up in the first segment or the second one.
There you go. Exactly right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm interested to see how this game goes. And yeah, the presence of Toriyama it's good. It feels good. I will be saddened when that well kind of dries up a little bit of just the stuff that he's had in the pipe. Because I'm sure there's other shit. I'm sure he did some consulting for the next Dragon Quest game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be a bummer when it's like, yeah, that's all the stuff he's done and will do. I hope that like, obviously I don't hope for people to like totally emulate someone's style, but like he's got such a distinct style that I hope someone can kind of put their own twist on it and, kind of be like not a spiritual successor, but someone that's like, hey, I'm doing some shit that looks as cool and interesting as Toriyama. But
well, there's the guy who's drawing Dragon Ball Super now.
Yeah, which also looks good and interesting.
Toyotaro.
But hey, I mean, there's never going to be another Toriyama. That's certainly true.
Very true. But can I just say that this guy goes by one name?
That's pretty cool. Very Mobius of him.
Toyotaro. Very, very Morbius of him?
Mobius, the cartoonist.
Could also be Morbius. Morbius goes by one name.
Could also be Morbius.
Anyways.
My favorite character in the Matrix. My favorite character in the Matrix is Morbius. Who did Keanu
Wait,
Reeves
no,
play?
it's Morpheus is the character
Morpheus,
in the Matrix.
Yes, that's the joke. You're getting it.
Okay, Mobius. I'm like, who the fuck is Mobius?
Who does Keanu Reeves play? Nebo?
Bimbity.
Trinbity?
Bimbity.
Mr. Danderson is what Agent Smoth calls him. This is
Agent
so bad.
Smoth. Whoa. Wow. This is quite a change. Yeah, let's move on. Let's get out of this.
All right, cool. Hey, welcome to Good Games. It's the segment where we talk about the serious video games of yesteryear.
So serious.
Only the serious video games for serious gamers.
I didn't know if this was announcer voice or like constipation voice at the end there.
This is actually my gamer voice.
A gamer voice.
Gamer voice that I'm trying on, yeah.
So it's the constipation voice.
Yeah, I think it's closer to that one.
Same difference.
If it's a scale. We got a suggestion from listener Mack, thank you Mack, to play the video game Sly Cooper. David.
Sly Cooper. A classic, truly.
Yeah, this one definitely on the scale of good games, capital G, capital G, good games, meaning the video game Podtimism segment versus just games that are good. This is on the scale of just games that are good.
Yes.
Could probably easily do a whole couple episodes about the series, but just decided why not? That video game sounds fun. That sounds good.
It's a treat, truly.
It is kind of. This one is kind of for us a little bit. We were both like, I want to play Sly Cooper again. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know for a fact you played this already. You've played this video game.
Yes.
In
the distant past.
I think I played it on launch. Do you remember if you did too?
Ooh, I do not believe so. No.
But that era, I presume.
Yes. Yeah, with it. Yeah. I don't think I got it at launch, but I might have gotten it on, I don't know. I don't think I got it on Gamefly. I might have gotten it used from Blockbuster bin or something.
Yeah, it was the same deal. I feel like this game was kind of a big deal at the time.
It was kind of an instant hit, I think. At least it definitely launched Sly as a bona fide star and mascot for Sony.
Yeah, they had kind of been hunting around for who's our guy that's going to represent our company. It was still kind of that late era of Spyro's kind of established at this point. Crash is maybe not a thing that we're doing anymore. So who's going to be our new scampish little platformer?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of tests. And I think that Sly mostly stuck that landing, that this is maybe one of the faces of PlayStation after this.
Yeah, I would say I would definitely put him up there with Jack and Ratchet in this era for sure. Of those were the three big mascots as far as my understanding of it went.
Yeah, my memory. Yeah, it holds the same thing true.
He was kind of like the indie pick.
A little bit, yeah, despite the fact that this game sold very well. It was still a very big hit, but I think that there was kind of a lot of oxygen taken up by Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter that I wouldn't say Sly flew under the radar, but it was kind of the third pick of those two for a while.
Sly didn't have a gun, I think is really the difference here.
No guns, man. What the fuck am I supposed to do here?
It's a stealth-based game. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get too far, though, could I hit you with a few hot stats, David?
Please.
Hot stats.
Cool. So, Sly Cooper, the Thievius Raccoonus, came out September 23rd of 2002, which is earlier in the PS2's life cycle than I remember this being.
It does. I mean, they put out 3 full games on the PS2 for this.
Yes, no, just banger after banger. That was kind of typical for the era too, though, was they would build an engine for something and then just keep building games like that. There were a ton of Ratchet and Clanks, and Jack was there's 3 of them, but that was in a pretty short amount of time.
It was, yeah.
And it's I feel like it felt like a watershed moment in games, but it came at kind of the earlier end of the PlayStation than I thought it would. It just felt like this is a leap in a certain way.
Sure.
And I always just assume that shit happens towards the middle of the life cycle or the end.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But I think the PS1 or the PS2 came out in 2000 or 2001. So we're not that far out from that at this point. This was made by Sucker Punch. You know them. You love them. We've covered them before on Rocket Robot on Wheels. That was their first game, the N64 game.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was reading, and they had said that that game didn't sell a ton, but a lot of people in the games industry was where they had said you should keep making games. There's a lot there that's really good, clearly, and so keep making video games because one of them is going to be a hit. And their very next game was Sly Cooper, and clearly that was a big deal.
Ooh. Man.
But they've also made the Infamous series that was kind of a PlayStation game, and then more recently the Ghost of Tsushima games as well.
Ooh.
Kind of mostly bangers, I will say.
They have, yeah. I really like those Infamous games.
I do too. I think the stuff around the morality system has not aged particularly well. It seems very flat by today's standards, but the thing that I think Sucker Punch does well is movement and traversal.
Oh yeah.
And God, those Infamous ones were so good at that.
They felt real good. It
was really, yes, yeah, it felt great. The electric powers in the first few where you got to ride on the train tracks and shit, and then the hover move was amazing.
Yep.
Or even the Second Son game where you turned into smoke and shit. That looked that all felt amazing.
Turned into smoke or got the light powers where you could run real fast.
Yeah. That was all really, really good. And even Ghost of Tsushima, that's like, I think compared to the other ones, relatively restrained, it still feels great to move in that game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably one of the better horses in a game.
Yeah.
I would say
very
Ghost
good
of
horse.
Tsushima, which is harder to do than it sounds, right?
It is. You like if you err too much on the side of realistic, it feels you're controlling like a tank at a certain point. I think of like Red Dead for that, where like sometimes the horse just doesn't cooperate with you, or doesn't turn very quickly or something like that. But you don't want it to just feel like a go-kart or something like that, because then it doesn't feel real at all.
Make it feel like an F1 car.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of great brake. I love the brake lines in Ghost of Tsushima.
Ooh. I'd play that game.
The vertical brake lines. You have to slow your horse down, Jin. We're coming in too fast. Jin, you're going to box after this lap, please. We got to replace your horse's tires.
Just rip its legs off and put new ones on.
Slam some back on. The horse loves it. It feels great.
Feels great. Oh, this poor horse. Wow.
I have a review of Sly Cooper from Jeux Video, an outlet out of France.
Oh, really?
I've taken their review, run it through Google Translate a number of times to get an artist's interpretation of what they had to say, which I will read for you now, David.
Let's hear it.
They said, Sly Raccoon is a well-known platforming game with fun and entertainment. If your character is part of the thief and stealth game, you can go the hard way and attack the team without worrying about being too careful. So we lost the first game, but it can be done. That's why we want to improve. Quote, I'm a thief and I'm a human. Unquote. If you find yourself there, the alarm goes off and it's hard to move on. The game is like sitting in front of the TV and watching a good movie with some popcorn if you're a little older and can't follow the scenes. And they gave that a 9 out of 10. They liked it.
Wow, they really liked it.
They like this one, yeah.
I'm a thief and a human.
I'm a human. Yeah, really putting your stake in the ground there.
I feel like France really does love the gentleman thief trope.
Isn't this game set in France in the first level too?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I think it starts off in Paris.
So like, why wouldn't you love this Jeux Video? It's a home court advantage here, too.
Absolutely. Sucker Punch was pandering specifically to Jeux Video for a good review.
We got paid off by Big Jeux.
To
put it in France.
Man.
Big French.
Big French.
What is Sly Cooper, David?
Sly Cooper is a third-person stealth platforming game where you are Sly Cooper, the Thievius Raccoon himself, who is, as I said, a gentleman thief who is going across the globe with his two friends that he met in his orphanage days.
Yeah.
Murray, the hippopotamus.
Yeah, who's doing a really good Chris Farley impersonation.
Yeah, he's doing a great Chris Farley. And, what's the turtle's name?
That's Bentley.
Bentley. Oh, great name for a turtle, by the way.
Very good. Yeah, nerdy turtle name.
Bentley the turtle, who is the guy in the chair, as they say. He's like tech support smart guy, and Murray is big head empty muscle guy who's also the wheelman. Yeah,
the driver.
Yeah. So you are going across the globe, finding different pieces of your family's stolen book, the Thievius Raccoonus, that pretty much just tells you how to be the best thief that there ever was.
Yeah.
And you're beating different evil villains who have taken these pages from your family one by one. And the levels are set up in a way that there is the boss in one part of it, and then you have to go and do like small little mini areas of the level to get certain keys or access to different areas to get to the boss eventually.
Yeah.
So it's like little mini worlds within worlds, which is kind of a fun way of setting it up. It's kind of like almost I guess I would say it is an advancement of like the portal system that was so popular in platformers like with Spyro and with Mario 64.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more themed and feeling more cohesive in a way, I guess I would say.
Yeah, there's like some connective tissue between each of the levels. It's not just like bespoke, you click a level and then it's there. It's like
the levels, the overarching level and then the mini levels, and there's 7 overarching levels.
Yeah. I feel like that stuff goes a long way to make the game feel more connected and like alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because for most of them, your first level is just getting to the hub world of that area. And it really feels like you're like infiltrating somebody's like big base or whatever.
It does. Yeah. It feels great.
It's very cool.
Yeah. And I think it adds to what I think is probably the greatest thing that this game does, which is just adds to the style and the feel of it all.
Sure. Yeah.
This game just oozes style. And I think that's something that really happened in the PS2 era, is that, not to say that games before this didn't have style. They definitely did. But in this one, you could really start to differentiate yourself from the pack in a very clear and concise way, just visually and auditorily. And that having these very specific themed levels really adds to that feeling.
Yeah, it immediately rocks. I was
it sure does.
I don't think I'd really played this one in a really long time.
Same.
Maybe since it came out, and like I think I had played the other few, and like obviously the more recent ones are more recent in my memory, and I think in my head I was like, I don't know if this game is going to be good. Like upon returning, it might feel quaint or like small, and I think even by comparison to the later ones, it is like more restrained, but like it's so good immediately still.
Yeah.
Like you're right, the style of it is like great. They're doing a lot with the kind of like the thief motif. Wow, I love that.
Thief motif. Ooh.
Yeah, that's good.
Look at you.
But yeah, there's like kind of this like noir almost style to a lot of things. And whenever you go to a new world, it's essentially like gives you almost a title card, like it's a movie that you're seeing, right? The Masked Caper or something like that. So yeah. There's so much extra shit in there that like I just wasn't expecting to be here, because we play a lot of games for the PS2 and we play a lot of games for the N64 era, and I think that connective tissue and like the sense of style just simply isn't there sometimes. The stuff that makes it feel like this is a whole finished complete work and every inch of it is considered, rather than like we have very cool mechanics that we want to get you to. Yeah. Like is more present in like the PlayStation 1 and N64 era games. And I was so surprised to find it here, because it's immediately fun. It's super good visually. Obviously, like, I don't think it's a hot take anymore to say that like these kind of cell shaded looks have aged very well. Yeah. But it looks great.
Still looks good.
Yeah. I wasn't playing any sort of like super duper 4K version of this game, but I can imagine if you just put it like, upped the resolution a little bit, that this would actually look incredible.
Absolutely.
Because it's all just like, hard black outlines on all the characters, and all the colors are very like distinct and readable, and it looks great. All the character designs are, it pops off the screen for sure. The characters are all amazing. Like it's hilarious that Sly wears a mask over his eyes. Like that's great. That's a very good visual gag. I was on, and here's the thing about Sly. I was expecting him to be more scampish than he was. Yeah. He's kind of just a nice guy. Like he's kind of nice, like kind of quiet. Yeah, he's gentlemanly. He's kind of quiet and like not a total dickhead. Like I was expecting more Spyro from him.
Sure.
But like his voice actor I found kind of interesting. He's like almost whispering just a little bit most of the time.
The whole time he's just like kind of whisper talking.
He speaks in hushed tones, which is like very fun. It's a cool like vibe for the voice actors to be doing. Speaking of which, both Bentley and Murray, absolute fucking masterclass. The voice acting is so good.
I was shocked. I was shocked by how good it still is. I was like, maybe there's going to be some rough edges around this voice acting, because it's like an early PS2 game. Like, no, they brought it hard. It's
putting
really
on a fucking clinic. It sounds so good. Like they're clearly doing like characters, and so they're overacting a lot of the stuff, but like it sounds really fun. It's so good. Even Carmelita Fox is doing a very good job. Like she's not in it quite as much as the other three are, but like she's playing her part great. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. If people are giving it like 110% with the voice acting in this one. And it's very like everything else in this game, it's very stylized voice acting. It's 100% just effect, a lot of it going on, right? And it's what they're going for. It's just, it bleeds through to everything.
I saw that somebody was in Blood Will Tell. One of these voice actors was also in Blood Will Tell.
It's Bentley.
Such a bizarre such a bizarre connection. But yeah, phenomenal stuff. Just again, in an era where like I don't expect good voice acting when I go to play a PlayStation 2 game, even big budget shit. I'm like, there's going to be some stinkers in there. Somebody was not trained for this, and they just said, okay, well, you're an actor. Let's see if you can do this.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas it's just simply not the case here. Everybody's doing a really, really good job.
Yeah.
I think too the villains are also fleshed out in a way that's just like makes so much of a difference, being able to go into a new world and be like, I get the person I'm trying to fight here.
Absolutely. I like that they give you a little vignette beforehand of just
like a teaser trailer.
This is this person's origin. This is why they suck. And then also going through their lair, like all the different levels you have to go through, seeing how they decorate the place, looking at their little minions and henchmen that they have around, really all adds to the characterization of these really obnoxious villains that are in this game.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I think that is something you could just so easily overlook in this era. But even like the first world, right? It's like you're fighting the like Toad, who's like a pirate or whatever.
The Toad inventor pirate man.
Yeah, they call him a machinist.
Yeah.
And like you run into shit like that a lot in those levels where it's like he's got these big industrial machines that he's using all over the place. And you could so easily not do that, but they went the extra mile there to make it like the world just reflect this person, which is something that I don't really expect from this era at all. I feel like you don't hear people talking about like environmental storytelling until you get to like the 360 era, and like you see it more in like BioShock or even with Gone Home or something like that. Whereas like you do get a little environmental storytelling here with like
you sure do
who these villains are and what their deal is and shit. It's great. I thought all that was really good. What was his name? Sir Riley? Was that it?
Ooh, Raleigh?
Yeah, Sir Riley. That's true.
Yeah.
Some really good ones in there too. All their names too are just phenomenal. The like, is it Mugshot is one of the other guys. Miss Ruby, the big like gator, is just like so good. They have such distinct character designs here. I think that's something that they were, even in Rocket, felt like was present, you know?
Sure.
I feel like something you and I talked about in Rocket was how good they were at making something funny, just like visually. Like they did a lot of gags that were just based kind of on timing. Like the like inventor in Rocket was like, all right, Rocket, I'm putting you in charge of like the park for the weekend. Like make sure you don't let the people out of the cage or whatever, the like animals. And then he leaves, and the instant he does, it turns around and they're out of their cage.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like,
it was like the walrus. That looks like Murray.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Similar
right.
stuff. And so I think that's totally present here, where a lot of the humor is like physical, which is just, it's great. But then to be able to back it up too with like the funny voice acting and like all that shit, it's great. It's really, really good.
The timing is good. The timing of all the gags is pretty solid.
I remember something that was really good in Rocket was like the physics of everything. And like I wouldn't say that like the physics engine in Sly is the thing that I'm there for, but I think they do a really good job with like just making everything feel correct.
Yeah.
Like you feel very light as you're playing as Sly. He feels like he weighs like 5 pounds, you know?
He does feel very light. And I like how much they play with things that are not balanced, that you have to balance on.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of things feel very tilty and wobbly, and you're balancing on things, not necessarily on like a point, right? But just walking around. It's just, you feel light at one time, but also like you're really having to control yourself still because the world is a little wobbly around you.
The way that the game like mechanicalizes that is that there are like spots where if you just hit circle, what did what's the character's name? Bentley described as like, you could do a super sneaky spy move or something like that.
Yeah, when you,
amazing.
Because special raccoons can see glowing blue auras that tell them where they can be very sneaky, which is a great explanation for why something is happening in a video game.
It's so funny that they do that. Like they make lore out of why you're able to see the blue things. And then also he's like, so you need to press the circle button, Sly. Like just totally calling out the controller of the video game. That's all very good. And so, yeah, there will be spots essentially where it's like the challenge is not necessarily to be able to like jump on the platform. You just hit circle and you'll sort of like kind of magnetize to a certain spot, which allows them really great opportunities to make something kind of like visually like cinematic in certain spots, which is really good. Again, it's not something you saw very much at the time, and something that like I think it's done differently nowadays when somebody wants to like make a scene very cinematic but make it feel like you're still kind of in control. They wouldn't really make it attached to a button prompt necessarily. They might just kind of like funnel you in certain directions, you know? I think like with Assassin's Creed or something like that, it's they'll only allow you to grab onto certain stuff when you're climbing up something. Even the second Jedi Fallen Order game, there's like a scene in there where it's like you're going through portals just like one right after the other. It's like a very amazing scene. And they give you little bits of control in between each of the like big kind of cinematic moments, and they stitch together like the camera angles each time, so it kind of like you're jumping in and out of being able to control that stuff, which is cool. But I think that it's interesting to see Sly Cooper attach it to just like a button press, right? You hit it and then he suddenly like attaches to a tiny little like antenna that you're kind of like wobbling on. Or you'll do the thing where you kind of like shimmy across a area, and it does the the like bum bum bum.
Oh, it's so good. The
it's
little
so good.
bass guitar going, just plucking.
So good. Like, I have no idea why that works as well as it does, but every time I'm like, that's fucking good. That's very
so
good stuff.
The
Guys.
sound
Thank
design
you.
is great. Doesn't it play like big horns when you hit somebody?
Yes, yeah. It's like the music changes a little bit to have like kind of an up tempo beat whenever someone sees you, and then when you hit them, it like kind of all crashes and then goes back to the normal music.
So good.
I had read that they were trying to take inspiration from like Splinter Cell in their design of the enemy encounters. Yeah, because like I think with games like this, like if you think about Spyro or something like that, when you encounter enemies, it's A, a lot more frequent, but B, some of them take a lot more hitting to kill them. Whereas for the most part in Sly, like it usually just takes one hit and you beat these guys, which I think is fun and more similar to Splinter Cell in that like those encounters usually are over very quickly. And that's kind of not the focus of the game, right? It's more about getting over to them kind of stealthily and that experience of it. Like, is this the most interesting stealth game I've ever played? Probably not, but like it feels much more just like a twist on a platformer than it does like a full-fledged stealth game.
Absolutely. Yeah. A platformer with stealth elements.
Yeah.
As opposed to shooting elements.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like it's interesting that the combat is so pared back, because I think the games of this era are pushing in the direction of combat being more and more complicated. Like I think Ratchet and Clank came out of the gate with like, that's our thing, is what we're doing. And Jak was much more of the kind of earlier era, but then in Jak 2 you get like guns and shit, and it becomes a very different
Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, yeah. Where it's interesting to see it just kind of like, you just got to get to them. That's usually the challenge, and then you can just swing your hook, and that's it.
Yeah, the enemies are not hard to beat. It's just positioning, timing, and just making sure they don't hit you, because it is a one-hit kill. So that does up the ante a little bit. So you really just have to be precise, which I think also goes in line with the whole entire thieving stealth element of the game. Yeah.
Of this era, the stuff that like, I think we say this every time we play a game from this era, but like the presence of lives feels very antiquated.
Yes, absolutely.
And like, I never got to this point, but I think it said online, if you lose your lives, you start the whole boss area over again.
Oh, dang.
It's not just like the level. You start the whole area over again, which is punishing.
That is brutal.
Really brutal.
I would say that this game can get pretty difficult sometimes, though.
There are moments where it is pretty challenging.
Dude, those crabs?
Crabs are tough. Crabs are not easy.
The twin stick crab game was the bane of my existence for a good like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Not great. So yeah, there were definitely moments where like the platform, I think the platforming is usually the thing that got me. Like there would be like one section that I like don't make the jump correctly.
Sure.
Which I think is good. I found it much less frustrating to die from a platforming challenge than I did to like just not hitting the guy quick enough.
Yes. Absolutely.
But yeah, I like, it does feel very old school to have like lives here. Cause like, what is the purpose, right?
Yeah. What am I getting out of this?
Of sending me all the way back. It does extend the game, but like at what cost? I don't really want to play those levels over again.
Yeah.
You know?
And the game seems plenty long as is. It's not a short game.
I think like for the era, people complained about it being short. I suspect if you and I played the whole thing, we would both be like, that's plenty. That's as much as I needed. Because I think they're like 5 worlds or 6 worlds or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're not horribly long, but I wouldn't call this like a super duper short game, you know?
Yeah.
It's not Gone Home. You can't finish it in like an hour or 2.
There you go.
Which I guess is my barometer now.
Everything is Gone Home now.
Is this, or how many Gone Homes is this game? Yeah, God, a really good game that I was not expecting to still be really good.
Yeah, really stands up to the test of time. this one, which I was not expecting because I remember I loved the third one. The third one I think is probably some of the most fun I had on the PS2 personally.
Was that Thieves in Time?
No, that was
PS3.
Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah, Honor Among Thieves absolutely banged. That one was really good.
That one was really, really good. So I did not expect this one to still stand up quite as well, even to my memory of this one.
I bet those other games are exceptional, even now.
I'm going to touch probably all of them.
Yeah.
In this Sly collection.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that's where we were playing it. I think, did you have to stream it? That's
I had to stream it, yeah.
Which is fine. I just plugged my Ethernet cable in. It worked much better. There were moments where you could tell I'm connecting to the servers right now and it's a little wonky. Yeah. But it's fine. This game, it has moments where you do need to be precise, but it's really not the whole time.
It fits and starts of precision.
Really good stuff. Really fun video game.
Yeah, I had a blast playing through this again.
And this one probably could have been a bonus episode where we just talked about the whole thing, but also at the same time, how many more times can I say it feels good to jump as Sly,
They do have a unique jump in this game too. It's a double jump, but you don't gain any more height from the second jump. You just do a cool somersault. You maybe get a little bit more length to your jump, which is interesting. So it's just a different unique way of doing a jumping system in a platformer, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating. I feel that's, I don't know, almost a Greek myth level of difficulty to make a good jump in a video game. Just again, because it's Mario, man. You're standing up next to God of video games.
He looks down on your pathetic jump. He finds you wanting.
A terrible double jump. Not from Mario. Mario only needs one.
It does feel good to jump as Mario.
It does feel good to jump as Mario.
Do you think they have that patented?
Just
the code for Mario's jump?
Miyamoto patented the feeling of jumping as Mario.
Yes.
When an Italian man jumps in Italy and makes the broing sound, Miyamoto feels it in his heart.
Is that a good place to be feeling something like that?
It's not like a heart palpitation. He just he has the knowledge in his heart before it gets to his brain.
Okay, if you say so. Yeah. Not a doctor.
But yeah, they made a good jumper,
Sure did.
It's also again just a testament to how fucking banging the Nintendo platformer lineup was for a while there.
Absolutely.
It took Sony so long to get there.
I mean, pretty much a whole generation.
Console generation, yeah.
Scratch Bandicoot was good. It was a very different type of platforming.
Did you say Scratch Bandicoot?
Scratch Bandicoot? I thought I said Crash Bandicoot. But Scratch
Bandicoot is a different guy. That's his weird cousin.
Scratch Mandiboot.
Scratch Mandiboot is great value. Crash Bandicoot.
We have Crash Bandicoot at home.
It's Scratch.
That ain't the same guy.
You want to go on an adventure with old Scratchy?
Only wears a shirt, no pants.
We can collect some jewels or something.
I don't like Scratch Mandiboot. I don't want to be around Scratch Mandiboot at all.
Just front me a couple bucks. I need to go to the liquor store real quick before we go on this adventure.
He's just walking around with a 40 and cigs. That's Scratch Mandiboot's vibe.
It's never too early for a 40-ounce liquor, is what I always say.
There was a point in my life when I probably would have agreed with that.
Where I would have been very cool with Scratch Bandicoot, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this Scratch guy's making a lot of good points.
Hey, this guy likes to party.
Scratch never really grew out of his college phase. Scratch is still living there, baby.
Scratch is 45, but still feels 21. Hey.
Got a lot of health problems from my lifestyle.
My doctor says I got 6 months, baby.
They say you gotta stop living that Scratch lifestyle. I say no. Scratch is marching to the beat of his own drum.
Scratch is a hot mess is what it sounds like.
I'm on multiple medications that are going to try and help me, but Scratch don't care. He don't want to take them.
Scratch definitely hangs out with Walucini.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. They have a bad band that practices once a year, but somehow plays 5 shows.
Scratch definitely plays the drums, right?
I think that feels appropriate, yeah. He can play drums okay. That is something that Scratch has going for him.
He thinks he's really good, that's for sure.
He thinks he's incredible, but he's okay.
Mm-hmm. What a character.
I opened for Primus once.
Warp Tour 99, baby.
Jerry was a race car driver. It was actually about me, but I told him they couldn't name it Scratch.
Scratchy was a race car driver. That's Scratch's video game. Instead of running towards the screen, you drive a race car towards the screen. Oh man, imagine how disorienting that game would be.
Yeah, horrendous. Crash Team Racing, my ass. That should have been Scratch Team Racing. I signed the contract. They pulled out after they found out about my terrible, terrible habits.
What habits are those, Scratch?
I like to rob convenience stores.
My goodness. It sounds like you're describing the life of a petty criminal, not just habits, sir.
Bank's money or everyone's money, according to Scratch.
Did you say Binks money?
Banks. More Binks.
Blinks?
Blinks still owes me $10.
Banks is the Scratch version of Blinks.
Yeah.
Banks, the money launderer.
Binks is doing much better for himself, all things considered.
Still, yeah, he's a white collar petty crime.
Scratch is wanted in about 5 states.
5 states and 3 territories.
Can't stay in Oklahoma or Guam.
Exactly. I get shot on sight in Guam. Don't ask me about Guam.
Got kicked out of country club lanes for partying too hard.
Got kicked out of country club lanes, then got kicked out of hometown buffet as I wallowed in my tears.
Sam's Hofbrau don't want me no more.
Oh, casual cafeterias don't want me no more. They don't want to Scratch.
What's good a rotisserie chicken if I can't eat it off the rotisserie? What's wrong with that?
Scratch is just trying to live. That's just what living is.
How much Scratch material have we been doing?
We've been mining this Scratch for a while.
Yeah. There's a lot in there. He's a very robust character.
We've been itching this Scratch for a bit now.
Thank you, Mack, for suggesting Sly Cooper.
Yes, thank you. It was a great time.
Very fun game to play.
Not like Scratch at all.
Joe Video would have hated Scratch Bandicoot.
Definitely. If you'd like to interact with the podcast a little bit more, you can go to our website, www.podtimism.com. There is a list of all of our past episodes on there. You can see our beautiful podcast art that Chase has so lovingly created.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Always shout out for that. You can also search episodes for past episodes for games we have talked about before. See if there's anything that you want to hear our opinion on. And you can also suggest games for us to do in the future on there. So please get on there and let us know what you would like for us to play, because we will get there eventually. Of course,
I'm going to be playing a lot of stuff on this trip to Japan because I've got some lengthy flights ahead of me.
Chase is getting in there. He's getting in there.
Yeah, I'm going to play all the ones that don't necessarily make sense for good games, but do make sense to play because they're fun.
Absolutely. On our website, you can also find links to our social media accounts. Probably the most important one is a link to our Discord, which is part of the Worst Garbage podcast network. So we have a small portion of that page there, and you can also interact with other cool podcasts on there and see what else that the garbage people have for you.
Yeah, all the garbage folk are putting some cool shit out. Let's see. What's coming out soon? Can't Let It Go just did an episode with Brendan and Steven about the next generation Star Trek. It was good as hell. It's very fun. They talked about their favorite episodes. I really enjoyed that episode. It's very good. You should check it out.
Hell yeah.
Frog of the Week. It's Darch right now. You should listen to Darch.
Darch.
Hell
yeah.
Good. It's fun. You can listen to that whole catalog very quickly. So get on it. Let's see. Into the Aether's Baldur's Gate 3 episode is probably coming out. I don't know. I think this month. I'm not positive. I don't think they've said like a specific date, but it's on its way.
It's going to be a lengthy app.
A very long episode. I know that Kim was on that one, and I think a friend of Into the Aether, Sadie, is also going to be there along with Steven. So it should be very good. I'm expecting some cool stuff. They're also the D&D one shot that we did will be dropping, I think, shortly after that or a little while after that. I don't want to put AJ on a time schedule here because I know they're editing it. But yeah, all that's come down the pipe. Plenty of fun stuff on the network going on.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. The Worst Garbage.
Thanks for having us. It's very cool. Very
good time.
fun.
Thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for our podcast art. It's great. We love it. It always looks good. If you would like some of her art to commission her, you can go to her coffee page, ko-fi.com/humblegoat, and see if her commissions are open. I believe Chase is checking right now.
They're not right now.
They're not right now. Get in line. All right.
Get in line. Get in line.
Get in line.
If you're in line to get commissions from Scouts, stay in line.
Yeah. Stay where you are. Stay in front of your computer until they open up, because it'll get gobbled up real quick.
Yeah, it's
Chase
true.
definitely has some more Truck Thulu he wants made.
Always. Yeah.
Also, if you'd like to help out the podcast, you can leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. It really helps us a lot, and we love reading them. You can also tell a friend. Grassroots is kind of the way we go. So please let other people know about the Podtimism lifestyle.
There was like almost a poem in there. A couple of the lines rhymed with each other.
Ooh.
It's good.
I'm channeling something right now. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
I think I've got a bad answer for you, David.
Uh-oh. Scratch?
It's Scratch, baby. He's here writing
he's not
poetry.
a poet. He's not a poet. He probably thinks he is a poet, though.
1 scratch, 2 thratch, 3 thratch, 4. Scratch is gonna rob that convenience store.
Oh my God. Man, that was actually good.
Thank you.
That's good. I imagine now that his drum kit just has poetry just scribbled all over it.
Absolutely, yeah. That he wrote in like Sharpie.
No, it's scratched into it. It's like etched into the sides.
Of course, yeah. Duh.
You got to scratch the scratch. And lastly, thank you, dear listener, for letting us assault your ears with Tales of Scratch today.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We love doing this. It's a great time, and it's great that other people listen. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate everybody being here. We keep having the most listened to month that we've ever had, like recurring recently. So like every new one's the most, which is cool. It's fun to. Like, again, we're not doing it for the growth part of it, but it is cool to see that that's happening. So thanks for the new people who are checking in, and thanks for the OGs who have been here since we were talking about Metal Gear Mandir back in episode 1.
A different time, truly.
Truly, yeah.
I'm scared to ask this question right now, Chase, but do you have any gaming wisdom for us this week?
Come on, there's only one answer. Do not go to a third location with Scratch Bandicoot.
Absolutely not. Definitely not alone.
No.
But probably not with
probably
a friend
not at
either. If he asks even like a group of 10 people, just leave.
Don't.
Just leave. Don't.
Listen, you're not going to get killed out there, but like he's probably going to ask for a lot of money. And like, if I know Scratch, you will not be getting that back. You simply will not. And like, even if he doesn't ask for
the money launderer.
Yeah, I lost it to the Binks machine. Sorry, I need $10 more. He's not gonna do anything horrible, but yeah, like you might get guilt tripped for like a weird thing that happened a while ago. Why did you show up to Scratch's show?
And it's definitely going to end with you giving him some money of some sort.
You have to. There's no other real way to get out of that situation.
That's all he wants. He's like, just give me a $5, baby.
We'll call it even.
Although I don't even know what you could get with $5 nowadays. It's probably going to be $20.
Yeah.
You
give him
$5,
he'll say like, all right, but what about a 20?
He's like, this is nice, but come on, what am I supposed to do with this?
Which like true Scratch, but still.
This MD 4040 was $7.
Scratch needs more money for that, baby. It's not even including tax. Scratch, of course, is an upstanding citizen, would never stop paying his taxes. Scratch is very pro-government.
That is a real heel turn for Scratch right there.
Yeah.
Actually, is that a face turn for Scratch?
Yeah, it might be.
I don't even know.
Scratch wants the government to improve the material conditions of its citizens.
Scratch laundered $200,000 last year, and he wants Bernie to take it all. Tax me to hell, Bernie. My ill-gotten gains.
Make me pay my fair share. There's people out there who need it more than I do. Well, that's kind of incongruent with how Scratch acts in his real life.
He's stealing from everybody and then reports it all to the IRS to increase how much he gets taxed.
It says here you made $500,000 in loans, personal loans, $10 each, one at a time.
You're welcome, Uncle Sam.
And I will pay my taxes.
He's a patriot, a real patriot, Scratch.
Unethical not to pay. It's my responsibility for living in a modern society. He's a weird guy. I don't know if I can do any more lore digging.
He's going straight to the Cayman Islands to scam everybody there.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, maybe we just need to sick Scratch in like specific locations to try and get donations from billionaires to sort of like, maybe that's the way we solve this, you know?
There you go. Where do the billionaires go? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Didn't they have some crazy summit last year? Like, we're going to solve climate change.
God, I wish that fucking worked, guys.
And it was just like them patting themselves on the back. Like, well, we're doing good.
Scratch doesn't think it's ethical for billionaires to exist in the first place. You have to engage in some pretty bad labor practices to even do that.
So is this version of Scratch the Scratch at the end of the bottle or before he starts drinking?
I think this is clean Scratch.
This
is Scratch that has turned his life around. Yeah.
Gotcha. So Scratch, the Scratch that we've been talking about previously is someone who is pained to be living in this world and is easing that pain with drugs and alcohol. Tragic character.
Yeah. He's got a lot of interesting backstory. Ran a half marathon to change my life. I got clean.
He didn't even mean to run the half marathon. He was just like sleeping on the street and then woke up and I was like, it's a half marathon. It just started going.
Had a lot of energy.
It's good to go.
Fostered a dog. Changed my life.
There you go.
Who saved who?
Scratch is becoming a millennial now.
Yeah, true.
Who saved who?
Love my doggo.
Love my doggo. New pair of skinny jeans.
That just happened.
Isn't adulting hard?
We have to stop.
Yeah, this is devolving into nothing.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.